Welcome.
Hello.
Are we ready to brew something new? Have we been brewing all day? How many of you have been here all day?
Hello, everyone. Come on.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. We've got some fun planned for today. I'm just prepping some moss over here to the side, if you can't see.
Who's ready for craft time?
Yeah, we're going to have some good times and some planting.
Yeah, hello. We are excited to be part of Brew Something New this week.
Yes, welcome.
We've got Hoya crafting for your enjoyment. I hope everyone was able to gather their supplies, but if not, no worries. We do have them posted in Overgrown Oasis for you, so you can always come back, rewatch this later. Hi, welcome from Oregon.
Wow, welcome.
And then you can make your own. So will you grab the basket that you made, the Lacanosa, so we can show them what we're doing?
I can do that.
Oh, wonderful. So yeah, we find this to be a really fun way to grow Hoyas. Hi there. It helps us keep engaged in our hobby. It makes a really cool thing to look at in our grow space. It's just another fun thing to do. So we hope that you guys find something unique about it as well. Caleb's going to bring up a mount that we just made a couple weeks ago to show everybody and kind of give you an idea of what we're going for today. So this is a Hoya Lacanosa Asami, right? That's Asami.
Yeah.
Grown in a mount that we have grown or that we have made. Cute little hanging basket. Looks very natural. Here to watch Caleb mount. Thanks, Vicky.
Taking it blue already. Fantastic. Our people are here.
Yeah.
Our people are here.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Well, we hope that you guys enjoy this. If you have questions along the way, make sure you ask. We're happy to chat. We have some supplies. What did you gather for supplies here today?
Okay, what we have fundamentally here is this. It is wrapped wire. Okay, it's kind of wrapped with like a jute type material. Sometimes it's wrapped with like a plastic looking jute, but it's basically like a hemp rope type material wrapped around a craft wire, like a floral wire or a heavy floral wire, I would say. But basically it's just, oh geez, I don't even know what gauge that is. 22 gauge. Yeah. It's quite small, but it's wrapped with this fiber and it gives you this element of, it looks like thin grapevine, basically.
Yeah. It looks natural, but it's structural. It's easily bendable, easy to use. It comes in a lot of colors. We bought ours on Amazon. You can get it at like Michael's or Joann Fabrics.
Yeah.
Any craft supply.
The idea is it's quite flexible, and when you bend it and you double it up, it can be quite structural. So in places where you need it to be a little thicker, you can double it up and twist it. In other places, you could just have a single strand of it. But the idea is, generally, if you think about how you imagine a rope bridge to be, with logs or chunks of bark or whatever in between, that's kind of how we're building this basket, but it's tapered, so one side is thinner than the other, and it wraps around and it creates a basket of sorts. And in the basket, we're going to line it with, we have some cocoa coir here. So this fiber mat, we will be pulling this apart and sort of separating this a little because as it comes, it's a little bit thick. We don't quite need it that thick. So we're going to go ahead and thin that out a little by separating it and laying it out into nice formation and making a nice little bed for this plant to rest in.
Yeah, and that will also help retain moisture for your plant. Make sure that it's fed while you're doing that.
Provides drainage. It's a really great, basically just a nice woven material there that holds in all the planting media that your roots are in. Now, these particular mounts, like our flat mounts, you have to water these over the sink or in a place where you're not too worried about it dripping. You know, now that it's summertime, it's springtime, you can take them outside and you can water them, or you can stick them into a tote of sorts, a dish pan or something like that, fill it up with water and let them soak. The idea is that you want to fill these up with water, let the plant take its drink, then you let it sit and drip in the sink and all the remaining drips come out, and then you can hang it back up in the place where it's hanging.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone was around a couple weeks ago when we made a couple of our other wall hanging mounts. similar care for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think. Did you bring any of those in? I can grab them.
I didn't grab them. They're on the top of the shelf there above the prop boxes. But the idea is with these, you can take just about any plant and you can present it in a way that it looks like it's in some sort of a semi-natural looking environment. It lends to that jungly vibe. And I really enjoy growing like this because it's a fun, unique way to add to your collection a plant that's growing in a slightly different manner. It's just kind of a little bit unique, and it gives you a little bit of a challenge, but also it's cool to have a plant growing in that way. A mounted plant is kind of like the special plant that you have in your collection, and it's something, a point of pride where you're able to say, look at this plant, I'm keeping it alive, but it's barely alive, and if I don't care for it in a certain way, things can come unglued pretty quickly here. And so I do think it's kind of cool.
So these are two that we created the other day. So you can see this is like a piece of wood with moss in the middle. And these are mounted and hung on the wall, generally. I got it.
So if you look at the list of materials that we have posted, where is that posted on our...
It's posted in Overgrown Oasis right now in the chat room. I'll find the exact.
So what I'm referring to is these pieces of bark that are on that list. They're relatively thin. Not like some of the bark that we've been using for our terrariums is quite thick. So it's a lot more difficult to make this sort of a basket with. So we ordered this stuff specifically because I felt like this was going to be a perfect size to make a perfect basket. What you really want is, you see that taper on this, where it's just slightly wider on the top than it is on the bottom. I feel like that's going to give just the right amount of taper to make a really nice basket. As that works around the circle with other pieces that are similarly flared like that, they're going to continue to make that sort of shape where it's wider at the top than it is at the bottom.
And to be clear, we tend to grow Hoyas this way right now because that's what we grow. But we have in the past grown philodendrons, syndapsis, orchids, staghorn ferns. A lot of species will tolerate this type of growth.
So looking at this piece of bark, I'm going to basically draw a line from almost corner to corner on the back side here with this utility knife. And then just sort of break it along that line. Okay? And that gives me those nice tapered pieces that, along with this piece that was just naturally broken, it's going to give me that nice sort of shape. You see how that's already coming together in that shape? If I put them together at the bottom and I control how wide the gap is at the top, then I can make that into just about any size basket I really want to. This is actually quite large. If you look at the size of those pieces, that's going to make a big basket. So I can trim those down. I can continue to make them that size until I work my way all the way around. So really, I think what I'm going to do is continue to make those in a somewhat tapered shape like that. But I feel like maybe like 5 of those is going to be enough.
Close the giant cabinet over.
Iced tea. That's our iced tea cabinet, where we keep all our supplies for iced tea. Just in case you were wondering. Okay, so we got a few pieces here. Those are definitely looking really nice. Oh, this is a good one right out of the package.
Oh, this is cork bark.
Yeah, this is cork.
Purchased on Amazon. We've previously used, was it spruce that we harvested?
Sycamore.
Sycamore, that's what it was.
That other basket with the asami in it is sycamore that we found in the woods locally.
Yeah.
If you don't happen to have sycamore trees growing locally, that's unfortunate, but
this is cork that
something
we bought.
You can order on Amazon.
Yeah, and be aware this is very, very light, so you don't need a lot of it. When it says 10 pounds, that's way more than you need.
It's quite sufficient.
So I think we bought a 2-pound bag this time, or 3 pound?
2 pound.
2 pound.
And you can see this is quite a substantial bag. This is going to make maybe 3, maybe 4 of these type setups that we're making today. Yeah. So if you just want to make one, a pound or so is adequate. So definitely something that you want to take into consideration when you're ordering it. It is quite light. There we have. Is there a? This doesn't have the option to enlarge the.
Alright, can you read it? I'll read it for you. Vicky was just tagging everybody.
Okay.
Sending the bat signal. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm unwinding maybe about 3 foot or so of this craft wire. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and clip that off. Let's just say maybe that's 4 foot. Okay. So about 4 feet. I'm going to fold that in half. Okay. Hi, Mom. Love you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just twist that into a loop here. Okay. Just so that gives me something, a little foreshadowing, something to connect to when I get back around the circle. Okay. So just for now, I just want to wrap that like around my pliers handle, give myself a nice loop, and give it a couple of good twists. That's all. Just like that. And that gives me some separation, and it gives me a place to hook up. When I make it around the circle, I have a secure place to connect. So what I have now is these two pieces running. And what I'm going to do is take them and put them around the bottom of these other pieces, these triangular pieces. And I wrap it relatively tight, holding it with my finger. I bend in from the outside to meet with the inside, and then I give it a couple of good twists. And I want to pinch that wire relatively close so that I get good tight twists there. Okay? I don't want many because I don't want a big gap there. But then I twist it until those pieces are horizontal in relation to the other piece, and I'm putting the next piece in.
So you're kind of weaving.
Exactly.
Basically.
So, as I move along, I'm holding that wire, and again, giving it a couple good twists here, which secures it.
So you could make this any size, right? Like you could make smaller pieces of bark in a small, tiny basket.
Absolutely.
Or big pieces would make a larger circumference.
Absolutely. And we're keeping on going around like this until we find our end. Now, I've positioned this in such a way that as I'm working it around, this is creating the bottom of the basket beyond where my wrap is, okay? So these bottom pieces are coming down and they're kind of coming together in this sort of way. It's not perfect, but it is sort of a cone shape. Yeah, it is sort of that formation. Now, I'm going to come back around with the second wrap around these on the upper, and that's like the second side of the rope bridge, if you will. But again, I can do extra twists on those tops so that they open up so that it creates the sort of basket that I want. So in a way, I have complete control over how I'm making this and what it's going to end up looking like as a result. Okay? So I control how high I want the rim to be, how much I want it to stick out the bottom, and it doesn't have to be perfect. The idea is for this to be sort of
natural looking.
Yeah. Asymmetrical looks very natural. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but imperfection is perfection. So all the way around, I'm doing this.
Do you need extra hands?
The rest can just hang. It just dangles there. Nice. It's actually quite secure in there. I've got it wrapped pretty tightly. And so I've made it all the way around now.
This time we have actually purchased the cork bark. This is cork bark that we're using. In the past, we generally harvest sycamore bark from our local area.
Yeah. Okay, so now that I have this piece, I have my loop. I made it all the way around. What I want to do is just connect it. So I'm going to just pass through the loop. and give that a couple good twists. Okay, we're secure. We're all the way around the bottom. We're looking not too bad. Maybe got a little gap on that side, but maybe we can work that out. The bottom line is you got a good ring that goes around there. You can trim off the excess here, the wire. And that's the bottom of your basket, okay? So, we're gonna pull off another piece, perhaps just a little bit longer, about 5 feet of this wire. So it's not a small amount of material that you have to use to make this. However, it's making a really cool basket. So it is worth what you're spending on these materials.
If you're just joining us, where'd the other one go? Lacanosa.
Oh, I hung it up over there.
Hung it up over here.
If you're just joining us, we do have one
This is
already
what we're making
made.
here.
This one is made with the sycamore bark, but as you can see, it's not dissimilar in the same construction methods. It's just slightly thicker bark. Okay, so again, I'm going to go ahead and double this wire over. Find the loop.
Thanks.
Okay. And again, we're going to go ahead and spin it around the pliers handle just to give us a nice loop to work with. Okay. So, starting at the same place where I started the first time, the same piece of bark, but up further towards the top, I'm going to take that loop and putting that across this bark, I'm going to do the same thing, giving it a couple twists where it's nice and secure. And now this one is determining the final shape of the basket. And so when you are happy with how many twists you have in between, and you're happy with where those pieces are laying out, then you can go ahead and slide the next piece in and move on to the next joint where you're gonna, again, twist the wire, and you're determining where that final top gap is gonna lie.
So you could make it look like wide and just narrow as you want.
I put 3 twists on that one, and that's got a pretty wide gap there. So it's giving a little nice space in between, but that's creating a really nice open basket shape.
Like an 8-inch basket, roughly.
It's going to be a big one. Yeah, this is going to provide a really nice shape for a lot of good media here to plant in. Okay, so I'm going to continue to follow that trend where I'm roughly the same size gaps as I work my way around the basket. I'm happy with the gap. I work the next piece in. And twist my way to the next piece. So as you can see, this is coming together pretty nicely here.
And it doesn't take long.
Not really that difficult of a maneuver here, but it's creating a nice loose basket that's giving us all the dimension that we need, and it's going to give us some good support for plant growth. Okay, now on this top one, I'm not going to trim this extra. I'm going to let this stay long because I'm going to use that as part of my hanging apparatus for this basket. So I'll pull that loop till it gets to the end of the weave, and then this is just going to be twisted till it gets to the end. So there's the basket there. We created a really nice shape here. It's a little bit loose and sparse, which is okay because what we're going to do is fill that in with the coco coir, and then we're going to be planting in some of this sphagnum moss. So the Asami basket was planted in soil. This is actually a different technique, which we're going to demonstrate how you can use moss to plant your plants in. It's just slightly different technique for watering. I mean, basically you just put it over the sink and water it as well, but you're just going to water it in a different way because it's rooted into moss.
It'll hold water a bit longer
than
the soil in this situation.
Which is a nice way to grow a hanging plant like this, a somewhat mounted plant in a basket. The moss holds the moisture a little bit longer and it's a little bit easier to deal with. It holds together a little better than soil. Tends to be smaller particles and tends to get a little bit more loose and free, if you will. Yeah. So with this, it's a little more controlled.
That's because you don't have to clean up after him, Captain.
Yeah, right? That's definitely a big part of it, is the cleanup. So I'm not going to go super crazy with this on the size of the hanger, because I think that this particular species that I'm going to plant in here is more of a cascader, and so I don't see it. I mean, it can climb, it will climb, but I'm going to encourage more of the cascading growth pattern on this. So I kind of want to go with a more shallow sort of a hanger like this.
You just twisted the two wires together then to create that?
Yep, just doubled them up and gave them a twist all the way down. And what I'm going to do is just grab and bend it around this other side. So I'll bend it up and start twisting back up the other way. And so now I got a nice bite in there, and now this is just going to be like a basket handle. So I'll twist it this way and continue to twist this other piece to meet that other twist. That way it's consistent on its width, but...
And how much weight will this hold, would you say?
I think you want to get too heavy with it, but the wire itself would probably hold about 15 pounds, which is a pretty substantial plant.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to have a 15-pound plant in this basket, but I think that this wire is definitely substantial enough to do something like that. It just depends on how it's hanging. You might have to do some like reshaping and reforming, but I feel like that actually holds pretty nicely and is actually hanging pretty well for what we've, just kind of roughly put together a basket. So it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be super intense in terms of its construction, and yet it can be quite functional. I don't know if that's something I want to try or not, but you could actually put a little piece inside of there as well if you wanted to. I think what I'm going to do is just use the coco coir because this is tried and true. The idea with this is to pull it apart. Because of the density of this mat, it doesn't have to be that thick, and it takes up a lot of space inside the basket. So often what I'll do is just sort of pull these fibers apart and loosen them up a little just to make it a little bit loosened. It does give me the willies to handle this stuff. I don't love it, but I'll do what I have to. I want to demonstrate this for you guys. But it just gives me it's like fingers on a chalkboard. I can see the dust coming off of this, and it's like the drier the stuff is, the more it's like...
Is it the sound or the texture?
It's both. It's the texture. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me.
That's hilarious.
This is my least favorite part about it, let me tell you guys.
You think it's worse because it sticks? Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is just to pull it apart a little so it's a little thinner. I just want to see a little bit of light through it. Just a little. And that's kind of what I'm looking for, is just to stretch it out and make it a little thinner and make it cover with a little less density.
Why?
Honestly, it's just about the space it takes up in the basket. By the time you fold it and stuff it in the basket, it creates quite a loft, quite a nest. and that's taking up space of, this doesn't absorb a ton of moisture, very little, and it dries very quickly. It's got a lot of air flowing through it, so it dries very quickly. And so really this is more like just to contain the moss, more so than it is for moisture retention.
Okay.
So I want to get this as thin as it can be to contain the moss so it doesn't fall out the bottom, but I also want to save a lot of volume inside for the bits that are going to actually help the plant survive and do better. So now that we got that somewhat loosened up, kind of look at it from the outside as I'm going and just sort of look at the cracks and just sort of let it fill in. Sometimes you can see the light through it, and I'll just take extra material and just sort of fill in the patches where a lot of light's coming through. I'm getting a lot right at the bottom here.
Oh, that's a good idea. Redeemed and Green said they've seen some cone-shaped cocoa coir basket liners.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, maybe that would help you with your heebie-jeebies a little bit.
Oh, if you could just plop one in there, that'd be fantastic. Oh, I'd be into
look
that.
For that for you.
Yeah, I'd be into that. Because I'll tell you, that's really what you're looking for, is the cone shape. But it really creates this kind of a bird's nest effect where it's sort of wild and sort of untamed and unkempt. So I don't necessarily mind that, but I also at the same time could appreciate not having to wrestle with this stuff. It's just, the willies. So,
but you keep making them.
I keep making them. They're so cool, I can't help it.
Yeah, they look really great in the grow space.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. It's, you suffer for the fun that you are going to have.
I mean,
by
here in
growing with
Michigan,
it.
it's not very often we're going to see what looks to be a tropical, environment. These plants growing in their natural environment. Clearly,
Right.
The wire isn't natural.
Yeah, we have to
Or
fake it.
probably the cocoa coir,
hard
but
around
it
here.
looks more natural in the way they grow. How does it relate to wet long sleeves? How's it rank?
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
I would have to say I'd rather have wet long sleeves for like half the day than deal with this. Honestly, like
wet
it's
jeans?
Wet jeans is a tough one.
Yeah.
I gotta get out of wet jeans like immediately.
Yeah. For context there, I don't think Caleb wore jeans till he was probably close to 35.
I used to wear them a lot when I was
But
younger.
when we met, you didn't wear jeans for years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. You either wear them a lot or you don't wear them at all. It's all or nothing with jeans.
Wet sleeves is the worst. Yeah, I understand.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we have here is a very nice little nest for a plant to settle in. Right? And it looks very rustic and natural on the outside, but this could very easily turn into a very cool plant. So the idea is, I got this little guy here. This is a verticillata black margin, which, I mean, it's a beautiful plant anyways. However, if you take this and you put this in a nice, beautiful hanging basket, I could see that being really quite nice.
Yeah, this is a species that grows well climbing or trailing.
Yeah.
So I think that would be good.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead. I have this rooted in soil already. So I'm going to just go ahead and knock off as much of that as I can. Just pluck it out. As you can see, it's pretty densely rooted in there. So I'll just tickle some of that soil off my fingertips. See if I can make a huge mess all over the place. Oh yeah, look, I did. I was successful. Okay, so just tickling off some of those, some of that peat. I feel like it's better. If you're going to have this in moss, it's a nice way to go.
Yeah, I've just given up and have a broom nearby.
Yeah. No, there's a vacuum pretty close to hand. Okay, so as you can see, we have not a small amount of roots and a pretty nice sized plant. So what I'm going to do is just give myself a nice little bed of mulch or moss inside the basket, kind of creeping up the sidewalls here a little bit, just to make sure we're all nice and settled in there. And then I will go ahead and take this inside of the moss.
Just wrapping all of the roots in a moss ball, basically.
Yeah, just basically covering all the outside, so it's covered all the way around. And then I'm just going to stuff this right in the hole, just like that. Nice and easy, down in the hole. Okay. At this moment, this is quite loose in here. This is quite fluffy in here, and this is not entirely secure. But with time, this will root into this space. It will adjust and adapt to this environment, and it will creep its way through here, and it'll be so that you can turn it upside down and nothing will fall out. But you have to give it some time for it to establish itself and its roots to get established in there. So for now, we're going to keep it upright, and we're going to give it good water from the top. Try not to let that moss dry out, and let those roots get good and established in there. When I start to see new growth on this plant, I'm going to note where it's at right now, because right now it's about to stall, and it's not going to grow for another couple of weeks until it gets acclimated and established to its new environment. Then the growth that I'm watching here is this little tiny growth here. When that starts to make advance and it's actually doing well and it's continuing to grow forward, then I will say, okay, now this is a healthy, established plant. It's doing its thing. It's happy in its environment, and I'll continue to watch it and make sure that it continues to thrive.
Can this go outside for the summer?
Yeah, this can go out in the summer. I'm going to keep a close eye on it to make sure it doesn't get underwatered. But with moss, it's probably not going to get overwatered in the rain. The way the rain falls, it's not like sometimes watering in our grow spaces, we can flood plants out. But with the rain, it sprinkles down, and you're not going to have that much of an issue with overwatering in moss outside. It gets enough light. It's using the water that it gets.
Getting a lot of highlight out there.
It definitely changes the environment. Now you can plant a plant in this much moss indoors, and you can have a different outcome altogether.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something you want to pay attention to and keep an eye on, because this is going to grow, differently from your other plants. However, that's kind of part of the challenge and part of the joy of it, is to be able to have a unique, interesting way to grow your plants.
Yeah, we tended to take these outside in the summer and hang them on our patio. It makes for a fun way to grow, like Caleb said, but it also is a great accent to our patio, something really cool for when people come over. It's one of the first things that catch their eye, generally.
It totally gives that jungly vibe. And people are like, oh, that's cool. Where'd you find that? Where'd you get that? So it's not like the common plants that everybody sees everywhere. It's one of those really interesting plants that you see nowhere.
It's really going to depend on your lighting situation. So if you're growing inside under, minimal grow lights or just ambient window light, you definitely want to pull back on your watering. But if you're going under, moderate grow lights, then you can probably keep your watering a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Hey, Miss Annie.
It's definitely one of those when you do a mount like this, the density of the moss can change your watering. Like my density is very light.
And your humidity is
going
to change it too, right?
And that's going to be very drastically different from anybody else's mount, anybody else's amount of loft of moss, and how your conditions are, your environments, your humidity in your environment, your light in your environment.
Yeah.
So when you have a mount, it's something you really want to pay attention to and be very, very, very attentive to, because until you're really familiar with how it's growing, you don't want to under or overdo it. It does take that certain level of extra finesse. And so, it's a cool way to grow a plant. It's a very unique and interesting addition to your collection. Even a plant that you've grown many times before can provide a very unique challenge when you're growing it as a mounted plant. So I would advise growing a plant that's good and hardy, something that's fairly easy. And then...
Yeah, we picked a species that's pretty succulent.
Yeah.
Pretty resilient.
It's easy
to try
to tell
it for the
when
first
this
time.
is thirsty, and it gives you a couple days of leeway before it dies on you when like suddenly a multiflora is going to tell you I'm thirsty. The same day it's like, oh, that's it. You were too late. That's not the right plant for this choice.
Yeah, but like I said, we've grown. We had a thematophile in one of these for a while.
Yeah.
We've grown stagcorn ferns, a lot of orchids.
Yeah.
There's a lot of species that will tolerate this type of growth, or even prefer it. A lot of these epiphytic species actually really enjoy it. So
it's a good way to experiment, is all. And I think that with the cork bark, its low decomposition rate gives you the ability to make something cool like this and have your plant grow in it for a considerable amount of time. Now, is this forever? No, it will eventually break down. It will eventually break, and the wire will rust and fall apart eventually. But it takes a good little while, and it's a really fun way to grow a plant. And then once it's grown like that, you can resituate it and start with a new setup and have a new mount. And so it's a fun way to grow plants.
Kind of looks like
overall.
An Easter basket too.
Yeah, it kind of does have that Easter
very
basket. Very
seasonally appropriate, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's funny.
So
yeah,
we hope that was an interesting lesson for everyone to see.
If you joined us a few weeks ago, you saw us mount these two. These are wall mounts that we do.
Yeah.
So this, which one is this?
That one is a
Shuki or Shook, and this is Crassia pedalata.
Yeah.
Forest witch Easter basket. Yeah, totally.
Right.
That's my type of Easter basket right there.
Exactly. Full of mushrooms and toads, salamanders.
Yeah, full of it. I like it.
The eye of a newt.
Okay, well that went pretty quick. You made that really fast.
We did it. We did the thing.
Cool. Does anybody have questions about how to create one of those, or how to care for one of those, or other mounting things? More crafts?
More crafts.
We
gotta come up with more crafts. Right now?
If you want to. It's up to you.
Oh, I'm not prepared.
Okay.
We'll have to do that on another show, perhaps. But yeah, that
you could record just craft all day. Yeah.
We enjoy crafting. It is a lot of fun. I think it does require some forethought and some ideas that you're going to, okay, here's what I'm going to come out with. Here's what I have planned. Here's the plants I want to use for that. So I do suggest go through your collection, find yourself some good plants, order yourself up some cork bark, and give it a try, because I really do think that a little bit of creativity. Now, I'm not sitting here saying I'm the most creative. I'm saying I tried this thing. Check it out. But I think you guys could come up with even more creative stuff. Yeah. It's just a matter of try it. Get the materials in your hands and give it a try, because I really do think that it's not difficult to manage, but it comes down to your creativity and how you manage these materials, that you can create some really cool stuff of your own and show me some cool tricks, So I suggest please try these things, and if nothing else, it's learning a lesson on how to do something crafty and have fun with your plants, It's
another way to enjoy them. It's something else to challenge yourself with. This is a really cool one. Tracy created the other day. Oh, don't fall over.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So this is in our Facebook group. Tracy tried one herself, and you can see that was what she came out with. She had a really cool idea, which we've never tried. She used some mesh screen behind her bark.
Fantastic idea.
Then she put her little plant pocket right in that, and I thought that was really clever.
Yeah. Anything to contain the moss or the planting media is fair game, right? Like anything, especially if you can't see it behind the natural material, I think that's perfect. And I think it's a great way to incorporate other materials that you can find around your homes, or, recycled or upcycled things that you find that can help you make what you're trying to make.
Yeah.
And fulfill that purpose of giving you some nice containment, but
that's one of my favorite parts about watching everyone else on OVO and seeing the different tours and people sharing their spaces, is getting to see all the cool ways people grow in their household or in their environment. Seeing all the mid-century stuff that Catherine grows in, or other really cool handmade pots that I've seen other people choose. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's very inspiring.
Catherine's uranium glass pots
very
and
cool
stuff. That's the way other people choose to grow their plants, I think, is so fascinating to me, because I do think that we've come up with what ideas we could come up with. A lot of it is out of necessity, but I do think there's a certain amount of style points you get for doing it in a
We look
certain sort of
unhinged
way.
all the time, so I get that.
So yeah, I think that's a lot of fun, and that's a lot of the fun of it for us, is to be able to see how other people incorporate these plants into their lives.
Well, then you
I've
take
seen
pieces
how we
of
do it.
everything, yeah, and make something interesting in your house.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that went really quick, but I think we got the point across.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think somebody is on at night. Let me check.
So tune back in for that. Lots
Yeah.
of good stuff to come on this Brew Something New edition.
We've got. Oh, that's the wrong thing.
I think I got some
Cocoa core in your
cocoa
eye.
coir in my eyeball. That's fun.
Yeah, Not Another Hoya is coming on with aeroid maintenance at 9 o'clock. That should be very interesting. Kristen, thank you guys so much for having us. We love hanging out over here on Ovo.
Yeah, always a good time.
We will definitely be back again very soon. In the meantime, if you need us, you know where to find us, all over the place, on Instagram, on Facebook, here.
Yes.
Thank you so much. If you have questions, if you want more information on how...
You like my shirt?
Yeah, we're both representing today.
Yeah.
If you have questions on how we create these things or where to get the supplies or anything like that, definitely reach out. We're happy to help. So.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thanks
everybody.
for joining us,
Thank
guys.
you for joining
Everybody
us
have
tonight.
a great night.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.